Contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And good evening, Cayman, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris. My colleague and co-host, Ellio Solomon, is off today. As a matter of fact, he is visiting the sister islands of Cayman Brac, and hopefully either today or possibly even tomorrow, we'll hear a little bit more from him. But I'm on my own here in studios. And, of course, as always, I love it when you keep me company. We are broadcasting live on your radio dial at 103.1 FM, but also simulcasting live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, both the Straight Talk Radio Show Facebook page, as well as the ACT Cruise Tourism Facebook page, so that you can get us wherever you're most comfortable. And certainly we would love to hear from you. The phone lines are open at 745-2626, or you can reach out to us on our version of the 1-800 number at 928-2562. And I guess we'll start off with what I think is the great news. We have seen a remarkable jump in our page followers, almost by a full 100% on Facebook. We've gone from, I think it's 254 to 753, if I'm not mistaken. And certainly we want to thank the persons, obviously, who have reached out and, been a big part of that for us. Certainly we are grateful for our listeners. We're grateful for our viewers. And again, we like to see those numbers continue to grow. Not only do they satisfy Meta and give us a reason to remain to stream on their platform, but obviously it tells us that more and more persons are taking the time to tune in as part of their drive time, 4:30 to 6:30, right here on Bobo 103.1. As always, we like to start off each and every day with a bit of good news. And for those of you who enjoyed the long weekend, particularly here at home, those of you, of course, I'm referring to who didn't hop a plane and go off to the U.S. or wherever you went for the long weekend. Certainly Easter was alive and well in Cayman, in particular the cherished tradition of Easter camping was everywhere the eye could be seen, from Spots Beach to Smith Bacadere, from Northside to East End. Tents and shapes of all sizes and colors, as one newspaper described it, creating a kaleidoscope of life by the sea. It looked like everybody was having a good time. However, I gotta, just make a small observation, because obviously you will recall I'm not a big camper. I'm not leaving the comfort of my home to go hang out in the bushes and rough it with anybody. But I was seeing some pictures, particularly over social media, that made me question the whole notion of persons roughing it over the Easter weekend. I mean, there were air mattresses. I think I saw somebody even put some water in their air mattress, I guess to mimic a waterbed. But the most creative image I saw all weekend long, and you got to give it to them, somebody set up a AC window unit, and they had 3 or 4 different conduits running, and they were feeding 3 or 4 different tents. So folks may not be at home, but even in their tent, they had central air. So I don't know who you are, but you get an A for effort and creativity as far as I'm concerned. But a little bit of criticism. It is hardly roughing it if you're enjoying the AC when you should be soaking up Mother Nature and all of her bounty, including the lumps that you get from sleeping on the ground. Somebody swears it's good for their back, but I don't know about that. But nonetheless, campers were everywhere over the weekend. And on the camping side, I did not hear a single report of negative or bad behavior. There were no noise complaints that I was made aware of. Certainly no fights either. Nobody died whilst camping anyway. And I think that is some great news. There is some not so great news on the other side of the equation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we want to try to stay on the good news footing anyway for the next 5 or so minutes. What else is good news? We see from the headlines more than 2,500 registered electors have signed up for mobile and postal voting. Taking a look at today's Cayman Compass, we read that Election Day might just be over a week away, and that's 8 days to be specific. But for 1,500 Caymanians, voting began today. A record number of electors registered for mobile voting will begin casting their ballots on Tuesday, which is today. Combined with a record-setting number of postal ballots, more than 2,500 people will have already voted by the time the polls open on April 30th. Constituents in Boddentown West, Boddentown East, Savannah, Newlands, and Prospect were the first to vote today, followed by West Bay North, South, Central, West, and Georgetown North on Wednesday. Then we have Georgetown South, Central, West, and East, together with Red Bay on Thursday. And finally, wrapping up what will be a short week for us here in the Cayman Islands on Friday, mobile and postal voters will get to vote in Northside, East End, Cayman Brac West, and Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac East. Polling hours for mobile voting will occur between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Now, you can log on to elections.ky for details on where the mobile voting polling stations are located. But if you don't have internet, you don't have a computer, and you'd like to know if you are, in fact, registered as a mobile voter, and then you'd like to know where you need to go, you can pick up the phone and give me a call, 745-2626, and I'll be happy to at least give you some directions. But yes, mobile voting kicked off today and will conclude on Friday with some 2,500 registered voters scheduled, or certainly on the eligible list, to vote before the general election deadline on April 30th. Now, just taking a look at the numbers real quick, there were a total of 1,036 postal ballots issued this year, compared to 582 in 2021, representing a 10 to 20% increase. I think it's a bit more than that, actually. As well as the total number of mobile voting applications, 1,500 this year, compared to 719 in 2021. So the numbers are increasing. We know also that the overall register of electors reached a record number for 2025. So we have more people registered to vote, and I am hoping, and I certainly want to use this opportunity to encourage my fellow Caymanians to exercise your democratic privilege, and that is to go and cast your vote. That is next week. I think it's next week. Wednesday is voting day, April 30th. Encourage you. It'll take no more than an hour, including standing in line, and maybe even drive time if you think about it, because it will be a public holiday. So if you don't have to work, you're given the day off, to encourage you to make time to vote. And polls will be open, I think, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And again, there's no excuse why you can't spare an hour, maybe even less, of your time to go and mark your X next to who you think should be the next leader of your respective constituency, and also encouraging you to participate in the referendum questions, which, again, there will be 3 of them. 1, should we develop cruise berthing? 2, should we develop a national lottery? And 3, should we decriminalize small amounts of cannabis? Are the questions. I don't know what side of the fence you stand on, and that's not important. But what is important is that you take advantage of the opportunity and exercise your democratic right to vote. It is a privilege. Certainly in our own Cayman context, we've had Caymanians who paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we in the islands can have the right to vote. And that is an honor we should not take too lightly. And all you got to do is turn on your TV to know that if you're living in the Cayman Islands, really, there are far, far, far worse places in which to hang your hat. So if you're fortunate enough to consider yourself Caymanian, to call yourself Caymanian, even more fortunate enough to be a registered voter, please take advantage of the opportunity, go out and vote on April 30th, which, again, is just 8 days away. And hopefully the outcome will be such that we won't be spending weeks with the horse trading, but hopefully in a matter of days, maybe if we're lucky in a matter of hours, maybe the Cayman Islands will know who the next government will be. So there you have it. The good news for the day. Trust you had a good long weekend, but you got to shake off those cobwebs and get back to it. The more good news is this week is a short week. And don't be like me and, lose track of the days of the week, because I spent half of the day today thinking it was Monday, but I suspect that's going to happen each and every long weekend because I am old, and that is just the simple fact of the matter. 745-2626 is the number, or you can reach out to us on our WhatsApp number, 928-2562, and from there, you can either leave us a WhatsApp audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text message, and we will be happy to share your thoughts and comments live on air. Coming up at 5 o'clock, it is Tuesday, so that means it's Super Tuesday, or as my colleague would call it, Truthful Tuesday, with our guest representing the constituency of West Bay North, Mr. Jordan Rivers, will be in studios, give or take about 15 minutes from now. And he will join us for what we suspect will be another thoughtful conversation, this time dealing with voter responsibility. What was I just talking about? Seems like we had the same plan. But yeah, voter responsibility and voter participation. Obviously, he feels this is, important as well, and I'm glad he does. He really does impress me, this young man. And from the feedback we're receiving from our listening audience, he impresses a lot of you as well. So Jordan Rivers will return to us today at 5 o'clock, and he will be featured in our primetime discussion at 5, taking a look at voter responsibility, participation, and how we can all work together to find a way forward for the Cayman Islands leading up to, but more importantly, following the April 30th general elections. That conversation kicks off again in about 14 minutes, and we encourage you to stick around because there's so much more to come. Sticking with the headlines, though, you know what? I just wish, just once, we could have a long weekend in the Cayman Islands where we don't have any police reports to share, to report on, or even to talk about. But alas, this past Easter weekend just behind us was not the one. We do have, obviously, sad news. We had a road fatality on Easter Monday. A cyclist was killed in what was an apparent hit-and-run collision in Bodden Town in the early hours of Easter Monday. The 39-year-old cyclist was struck by a blue Subaru Forester just after 6 a.m. close to Lake Destiny Drive. Police say the driver fled the scene before colliding with a parked car and crashing into a concrete wall of a neighboring residence. The driver then exited the vehicle and fled the collision on foot, according to the police press release. However, a short time later, a 33-year-old man from Bodden Town was arrested and charged with manslaughter, causing death by dangerous driving, and related motoring offenses. He remained in police custody on Monday evening as he continued to receive treatment at the hospital. Obviously, he too sustained some minor and non-life-threatening injuries during the accident. But the cyclist, who also lived in Bodden Town, was taken to hospital by ambulance, but succumbed to his injuries and was later pronounced dead. I do believe that may be the first fatality for 2025. But if I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody will correct me. But it is still disappointing. It's, again, another accident that could have been, should have been avoided. But once again, we did not. And regrettably, some family will kick off the day after Easter in a grieving mode. And our thoughts and prayers go out to that family, and actually all sides of the family, because obviously they're both sides to this, and both sides will be affected one way or the other. But certainly our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to the family of the 39-year-old male cyclist who was hit and subsequently died as a result of that, what was a hit and run over the long Easter weekend. There were also 2 more vehicle accidents reported over the Easter weekend. I understand both of them also occurred on Easter Monday in Bodden Town. Now, I only saw images of these accidents, and just by looking at them, they were horrific in their own right. One car, what looked like a Jeep, turned over on its side. Another one turned over, almost completely over, on its roof. One car looked like it's one of those crossover SUVs, and I guess they decided they didn't want it to go rock climbing on some boulders that a sensible citizen decided to place in front of their residence, because certainly if it wasn't there, the car might have been in their living room, and we would have had even worse news to share. But another car decided to scale those boulders. Again, major damage all the way around. I can only assume alcohol was involved. I can only assume speed was involved, but I didn't hear of any fatalities, either in the media or elsewhere. So I suppose that's some good news. But regrettably, yet another long weekend where the police were kept busy. On Sunday afternoon, more police news. Emergency services responded to a fire at the new Indigo Bay residential complex on Shamrock Road. This is the condo complex on the coastline just opposite Hurley's Supermarket. Fire, police, and ambulance services were said to have attended the scene, where smoke was seen billowing from a top-floor condo. That fire is currently under investigation by police and fire services, and no further comment has yet been offered up or made at this stage. Again, no reports of injuries in that fire, but it is a matter for the fire investigators, and hopefully, I presume, in short order, there will be a follow-up release either from the RCIPS, the fire service, or both, giving more details on that incident. But that also occurred on Sunday afternoon over the long weekend. And I guess finally, in police news, the RCIPS remained tight-lipped over the progress of its investigation into the grim discovery of a dead woman in a burning car just 2 weeks ago. The body of Judy Ann Miles, Caymanian, aged 47, was the head of the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority's anti-money laundering unit, and was found on the afternoon of Thursday, April 3rd, after reports of a white Honda CRV ablaze on open ground in the Lookout Gardens area of Bodden Town. What's going on with Bodden Town? All of these accidents and loss of life and this horrific death, all of which is happening in Bodden Town. Something's going on there. But so far, the police haven't provided any update. You will recall about a week ago, maybe a little more than that, they said they were awaiting reports from both the pathologist as well as the fire service investigators, whilst appealing for anyone who may have been in the area or who may have witnessed the incident to certainly come forward. We assume all of that has happened, but what we don't know, we haven't been provided any updates on this ongoing investigation, which I guess can't be defined as a murder yet. It's still listed as a mystery death. At least that's what the media is calling it, because we haven't really been given anything else by the police. Obviously, it's horrific. Being somewhat familiar with the young lady who passed away, it's also very painful. It brings back some horrible memories of another fantastic woman that lost her life in a similar fashion many years ago. Thankfully, the culprits responsible for that horrific incident were arrested, charged, and imprisoned. And we're hopeful that the RCIPS will have the same success and reach the same conclusion in this incident. But again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We really don't know what happened. But to say the least, there are suspicious circumstances, and we still await some follow-up from the police as it relates to that death as well. So that's your police news, basically, in summary. Now you're fully up to date with all the news you either need to know or didn't want to know, but were afraid to ask, and there you go. You know it now. 745-2626 is the number. You have about 5 minutes before I have to pause and go off to a break. And when I return, hopefully, we will be joined by Mr. Jordan Rivers, and we get to kick off our Super Tuesday discussion. One more thing. This is also, I think, in the good news category, but more of a public service announcement. As the April 30th cruise berthing referendum nears, the Association for Cruise Tourism, or ACT, in the Cayman Islands, is inviting all Caymanians to attend its final public town hall on Friday, April 25th at the Grand Cayman Marriott Beach Resort. The event, which begins at 6 p.m., will begin with a meet and greet, followed by a 7 p.m. start of the meeting, and will feature Alexander Gums, Chief Executive Officer of Port St. Martin. Gums will share firsthand insights into how cruise berthing infrastructure has driven economic growth and helped to protect marine environments in other destinations. ACT is encouraging participation from all sectors of the community. Those include taxi drivers, tour operators, shop owners, hospitality workers, and even those persons opposed to cruise berthing. It's not fear-mongering, it is fact-sharing, and we'd encourage everyone to come out, ask your questions, and certainly be enlightened. It is being described as a vital conversation about the future of cruise tourism. The event is free and open to the public. Refreshments will be served. And speaking of ACT, with the 3 minutes we have remaining, ACT came out with a new song, and apparently Straight Talk is being, the go-to place when you want to debut new music. So check this out as we head off to our first break, and keep it locked. When we come back, Straight Talk will continue next with Jordan Rivers in our primetime 5 to 6 p.m. slot.
They walked away, but we won't hide. Cayman's future is on the line. Cruise is down, the jobs are too. We've got to plan for me and you. Say yes to progress, yes to jobs. Yes to peers that help our youth. Don't let fear decide the way. Vote yes to cruise on referendum day. Hold up. Hold up. Hold is down, the jobs are too. We've got to plan for me and you. Say yes to progress, yes to jobs, yes to peers that help our youth. Don't let fear decide the way. Vote yes to cruise on referendum day.
Brand new music there, supporting the ACT Cruise Tourism Initiative. And remember, you heard it first here on Straight Talk. Keep it locked. We are just going to pause, check in with the BBC News, and when we come back, Super Tuesday begins with Jordan Rivers on Bobo.
Bobo.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive winds.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat.
Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. The International Monetary Fund has cut its global economic growth projections, warning that US tariffs are causing market uncertainty and slowdown. The outlook for nearly all countries has been downgraded. US projections have been slashed by a third. Michel Fleury in Washington says Mr. Trump has explained why he thinks tariffs are needed.
The President has said this is short-term pain for long-term gain. He's trying to bring back manufacturing to the United States, re-industrialise the country. He's also trying to raise revenue. Remember, he has promised tax cuts down the road, and this might be one way to raise some funds for that, because America is currently running a huge deficit. So there are multiple ambitions. He's also using it as a kind of punitive measure, certainly in the case of China, Canada and Mexico, where he's doing it to try and reduce the supply of fentanyl to the United States, where it is a huge problem.
American stocks have risen following White House assertions that it's making good progress on reaching a US-China trade deal. All 3 main indices jumped more than 2%. The US Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, speaking at a closed-door event, is reported to have predicted what he called a de-escalation in China-US relations in the near future. Erin Delmore is in New York.
Scott Bessent reportedly voiced confidence that U.S.-China trade tensions would cool before adding that negotiations hadn't started yet. He anticipated they'd be a slog. Mr. Bessent is reported to have said the goal wasn't to decouple relations between the U.S. and China, but instead to tip the American economy toward increasing manufacturing and China's toward greater consumption. Mr. Bessent reportedly expressed optimism that what he described as rebalancing could be achieved, but it isn't clear whether Beijing would agree to this plan.
The Trump administration has announced plans to drastically overhaul the US State Department, claiming it's become beholden to radical political ideology. They include the office which deals with the US response to war crimes, as well as those addressing refugees and migration. Gunmen in Indian-administered Kashmir have killed a large number of people in a rare attack on domestic tourists. Media reports suggest at least 27 people were killed, but no official figure has been provided. A little-known Islamist separatist group says it was responsible. Yogita Lamaya is in Mumbai.
On Tuesday afternoon, gunmen opened fire at a group of tourists who had been visiting Pahalgam, a popular destination for visitors known for its rolling green meadows. Videos on social media show people crying and pleading for help, with the dead and injured lying on grassy ground. While Indian-administered Kashmir has faced conflict and an armed insurgency for more than 3.5 decades, rarely has the violence been directed at tourists. That is why the attack has sent shockwaves through India.
World News on the BBC. The Vatican has revealed that Pope Francis expressed gratitude he was able to greet Easter worshippers just a day before he died. His funeral will be held in the square on Saturday and will be attended by dozens of world leaders and tens of thousands of Roman Catholics. Official Israeli messages of condolence were deleted shortly after being posted online. The Israeli account on X briefly showed a picture of Pope Francis praying in Jerusalem, adding, "May his memory be a blessing." Sebastian Usher reports.
It was just one of the thousands of such messages issued by countries around the world, but it was swiftly removed, apparently in concern at a backlash from sectors of the Israeli public who see Pope Francis as having been anti-Israeli because of his repeated expressions of sympathy for the Palestinians. The Pope also spoke of Israeli suffering, but this doesn't seem to have assuaged his critics in Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself hasn't issued any public expression of mourning, although the country's president Isaac Herzog did offer an eloquent eulogy, praising Pope Francis as a man of deep faith.
Delegations from Hamas and Israel are in the Egyptian capital Cairo to discuss new ideas, including a 5 to 7 year truce and the release of hostages. Israeli strikes on Tuesday killed at least 26 Palestinians and injured 60 others. The IDF destroyed nearly 40 vehicles it said were for terror purposes. The Palestinian Civil Defence said the bulldozers were to clear rubble. Astronomers have spotted a rare rocky exoplanet disintegrating as it orbits its host star. Scientists say it sheds material equivalent to the mass of Mount Everest every 30 hours, leaving a dust trail 9 million kilometres long. It's one of only 4 exoplanets to have been observed and is more than 140 light years away. It's the closest to our solar system. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris. My colleague and co-host, Ellio Solomon, is off. He's off from the show, but as I understand it, he's working hard in the Sister Islands, spreading the gospel of cruise tourism and meetings being held, I think, at the Ashton Ruddy Center. Again, another quick reminder, the final meeting for ACT here in Grand Cayman is scheduled for this Friday at the Grand Cayman Marriott Beach Resort. If we have time today, we'll share more details on that. If not, we have a few days left in the week, and yes, you can count on it. We will be talking about it more than once. But it is 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock in the studio, and that means it's time for Super Tuesday with my favorite guest, West Bay North constituent candidate, Mr. Jordan Rivers. Good evening to you, Jordan, and welcome. You've matriculated to at least one half of the driver's seat.
Look at that. I am the co-host today.
Oh, Lord, and he has control of the sound effects as well. Ellio, buddy, I don't know what happened. I keep telling you, man, we need to put these things under lock and key, but something tells me that you're going to have a lot of special effects moments. I mean, for some reason, there'll be fireworks in the corner. Every other recommendation is going to be like, wow, that was another hit.
Amazing. You would swear I'm in control of the pulse.
You would swear you are. Well, I tell you what, it's getting so nice to have you every Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, when, you get elected and you're far too busy to come on the program anymore, at least on Tuesdays. But
this may become my dedicated outlet. You never know.
Maybe.
Work something out.
Maybe. I like that about you. You're a forward thinker.
That's what the country needs.
That's what the country needs, indeed. Well, Jordan, all nonsense aside, a pleasure to have you as our guest in studios. And certainly on behalf of the constituents of West Bay North, this is your time to reach out, to hear, as well as to share with what could be your representative in West Bay North. The phone lines are open at 745-2626, or you can reach out to us on our version of the 1-800 number by dialing our WhatsApp number, 928-2562. It won't cost you anything to send us either an audio note or a WhatsApp text message, both of which we'll be happy to read or share live on air. It's been a busy week for you, Jordan. Obviously, we're going to talk about some of the thoughts you're having, but you're in the final leg now. 8 days to go before voters go to the polls. What do you have to say to, in particular, your voters in West Bay North?
Let me tell you guys one thing. It has been an amazing journey. All of the support countrywide, within the district, within West Bay North. It has very much opened my eyes to the level of representation that is required that we have not seen from either incumbent representatives, both past and past. Mm-hmm. So It's about time that we get the country on the right track with a new generation of leaders, people that actually want to serve persons that put them there, that don't miraculously forget how they got there.
Yeah.
Myself for sure, but I think the country on a whole has become very painstakingly tired of self-appointed gods. Mm-hmm. And it's time that we put the power back into people's hands come April 30th, subsequently on to May 1st, and for the next 4 years. So that's how I'm feeling about it. I'm revved up, ready to go, and I got a whole busy week ahead of me all the way until Election Day. So I'm excited for it.
Well, that's great. We're excited for you as well. Before we talk about some of our issues, I also note that you picked up a rather important endorsement from your party leader on social media. I saw Mr. Dan Scott really laying it on and saying, listen, when we talk about hiring Caymanians, these are the type of Caymanians he's talking about. Obviously, that's got to make you feel good.
It does, and I can tell you because I didn't know it was coming.
Right.
So when I saw that, I was like, wow. I said, all right.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm on the right track.
Clearly you are, indeed. Now, when we talk about, obviously, your busy schedule, we know you're focusing, as you said last time, on door-to-door. Really, of course, I think that's very smart. That's where the battle will be won, one-on-one with individuals. But you do have another yard meeting, I think, is taking place tonight.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I've got one every single day this week, I believe, up until the 25th. So tonight, I have one on Premier Drive right off of Power Road, starting at 7:30. You keep it once you hit Premier Drive, you head to the last house on the right. It's the yard right before that. So we'll be starting there at 7:30 this evening.
Okay.
Right. If you'll allow me, I can.
I want you to share all of it. I want you to tell everybody where they can find you.
So tomorrow evening, you can find me at 77 Windstar Drive in West Bay Gardens, also 7:30. So just to kind of save time for this, all of my meetings this week will be starting at 7:30. Okay, so there's no differentiation. You just look for the Purple House on Windstar. On the 24th of April, I'll be at 239 Captain Reginald Parsons Drive, and then on the 25th of April, which is I believe the Friday, I will be on Top Sale near Cobalt Coast. They'll see every bit of banner on the piece of land right there. Okay. That'll be the last meeting for the week. So just as a rerun tonight, Premier Drive right off of Power Road, head all the way to the back. It's the piece of land next to the last house on the right. Tomorrow night is 77 Windstar Drive right there in West Bay Gardens. On the Thursday, it'll be number 239 Captain Reginald Parsons Drive. And then on the 25th, it'll be Top Sale Street right there near Cobalt Coast.
All right. And all those meetings start promptly at 7 p.m.
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah.
No, man, this is best.
Well, I'll stay with it. It'll be 7 o'clock, guys. It's 7 o'clock.
Is the start time, Bears. Show up 7 o'clock. You don't want to miss a single minute of the foresight, of the ideas, of the plans that Jordan Rivers has for you in West Bay North.
And I think these are very crucial things as well too, because I have not seen it happen a whole lot during the campaign cycle. And if it has, forgive me for whatever candidate decided to do it as well too.
Yeah.
I just haven't noticed it. But I think these round table style discussions are the most important way of reaching a lot of constituents all in one go.
Yeah.
We've had too many years of politicians just coming and speaking at you and not with you. So I thought that it was imperative that I do it a little bit different, as my first real official attempt at doing this is to show the people that I'm not just here to talk the talk. I'm here to walk the walk as well.
Yes.
And I want to hear from you at every chance I get, because if I'm expected to represent you, I have to know what your concerns are. And I think that having these, I wouldn't say massive, but fairly sized events where I can sit and talk with 20 or 30 people and dedicate 2 to 3 hours of my time just so they can tell me everything that they see are the direction the country's moving. I think that's real representation. Like, that's grassroots representation. And we need to get back more to that. We can't continue with this, like I told you earlier, this deification of these persons. They're humans just like us, you know?
Indeed. Now, we talked about this last time, but I think it's important because each and every week we pick up new listeners, and hopefully some of those new listeners are your constituents from West Bay North. Tell us a little bit about the issues that are being shared with you. Are they 20 and 30 different, concerns, or is there some, uniformity, some similarity in terms of the views of your constituents that's starting to emerge into a picture for you?
Yeah. So what I've realized going through all of West Bay here now, and I do believe that these are a lot of national shared issues, because where you start to see the specifications happen here now is on the micro levels, right? But I think that the majority of Caymanians are all going through the same kinds of issues. They're not seeing opportunities in the workplace. They're not seeing employment opportunities. They're not seeing a level of security. The cost of living is skyrocketing. And the thing is that what I think is important to understand, at least with the cost of living, is that persons that come from other places that have a lot of liquid income, they don't feel the brunt of that pressure the way that we do. Cayman's an amazingly unique product when it comes to how we service the international market. Mm-hmm. We go hand in glove and benefit persons that use tax. They use taxes in the tax system to their benefit. Right. That's great when they're coming into Cayman, but the Caymanians themselves are extremely limited with what they can do with their money, the amount of red tape they got to go through. So I think when it comes to the rising cost of living, we are at a disadvantage because we don't have the ability to scale up our level of income as quickly as persons that come from larger countries. So cost of living is a huge factor in a lot of this. Crime and safety are obviously on the rise as well too. Weirdly enough, and I think it's a good sign for West Bay that we haven't seen a lot of violent crimes pick up in the recent years. We still have a lot of. I know it's a positive thing for West Bay.
Yeah, we'll take it.
But yeah, petty crime is still going to be petty crime. You're still going to have the guy stealing your breadfruit. Yeah. Just what it is, But it's good to see that there is a unification, because we will always hear in the open space that people aren't unified enough. But we're unified in knowing what the problems are. Now we got to be unified in holding our elected arm accountable, and that starts right there in West Bay. I do believe so.
On the crime front, what are some of your assurances? What are you telling constituents that if elected, what you will be prepared to do for them as it relates to keeping them and their families safe?
We need to get a lot more police engagement with the community. The people need, and I know we spoke about this, I think it was last time.
Yeah.
But it has to get to a point where the community can trust police officers again. Yeah. We've created an entire section of community engagement officers, and they're doing their job. Like we talked about last time, crime is not a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 situation.
Yeah.
It says 24/7, 365. So we need to have officers that are in the community actively talking. We need to get things like DARE back in our schools, man. So if we want to prevent future criminals from being birthed, we have to make them understand that just even these simple fundamentals of what to stay away from and the kind of telltales that you're in the wrong crowd, that's going to take having a government with the political will and desire to work with those different branches of government to get those things. It's about time that we started really focusing back on the development of our people, not the development of their pockets. That's what we got to really work on. When I say the development of their pockets, I mean all those side businesses that we talked about that they're servicing government with.
Right.
We gotta get back to the core, and that is the people.
All right, outstanding. Well, certainly, if you're not already thinking it, I'm sure you are, but certainly if you are elected and you want to obviously have an impact on crime, as you say, create more public police engagement, those same roundtable discussions that you see to be very profitable and useful to you during your campaign trail can also prove to, I guess, mending bridges and creating relationships when you can get your district officers out using your authority then as an MP to encourage them to come to the table and meet some of the people that they obviously are charged with policing.
Exactly.
I think it'd be a step in the right direction.
Yes.
And I'm sure your constituents will thank you for it.
I would hope so. Like, listen, it's we hear that it's a thankless job and all this stuff. Firstly, yeah, to an extent it is. There's long hours, but you get paid very well for it. But at the same time, too, there's only so much gratification you can expect to receive when you know what the kind of job that you signed up for. Yeah. You are vying to be the representative of the people, and we as a people, we forget to say thank you sometimes. This comes with the territory, but I think the real gratification is knowing that when you can see the issues that you grew up with, and you have the ability to change them, and you make a positive impact on that. To me, that's all I need. I can tell you, like, no one has to come and tell me thank you for getting Barkers to become a national park.
Right.
Everyone can go and enjoy that. That's perfect for me, as long as I can go out there on a Sunday whenever I have kids and eventually grandkids and say that I remember when I was able to help and put my talents to use and ensure that this was preserved in the way that it should have been. That's all I need, man. I just want so I can go and ride my horse out there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Once we do stuff like that, I think that is gratification enough.
You've mentioned this before, and I just want to touch on it again. You've obviously mentioned your desire, if successful at the polls, to represent West Bay North and certainly be a part of the government, that you would wish to transform Barkers into a national park. Are there any concerns? Obviously, there must be, regarding the conflicts that will be presented by those who already own property, those who would also like to see that area developed, and let's call it what it is. One of the leaders of West Bay for the better part of, I don't know, half a century, has also been very pro-development and has recommended that Barkers not be preserved, but in fact developed from a tourism aspect. What potential conflicts do you see existing between your desire to transform it into a national park and the existing desire and or plans to further develop it?
You see, then it's funny you put it that way, right? Because the existing conflicts were made without the people's consent, and that's half of the problem, right? And let's just say, like you mentioned one person, we'll leave it just like that. One of the district leaders for the better part of half a century, he himself could not make those decisions by himself. It took his caucus, it took his cabinet. So funny you mentioned that too. Actually, today I was listening in, and I was listening to the talk show today, and they were basically chalking it up that it was under the control of one man or one individual that had all this appointed power, and we know that's not how our system works.
Not at all. It's a nice thought, and for someone's ego, certainly I'm sure it helps to build the legend of. But yeah, you're right. One person does not have that kind of authority in our system of governance. It takes all of the government.
Yes, you're correct. And that's where we have to look into those situations where it's saying, well, you want to blame this one person, but that one person was not writing that minimum 7 different signatures to sign off on this. We got to look to see who was a part of your cabinet, who was a part of your caucus, who chose to not stand up, who chose to be subservient, to be spineless, to not have the will of the people in them to defend them. When we can talk about, the one time I stood up. That one time is only good for that one time. If that is not a part of your fundamental character, and it makes you question here now, was that one time that you stood up only because, what they were going with didn't benefit you? Makes you have to question these kinds of things. So if this is the direction we're going to be talking about, you as an elected official, whether you are part of a grouping or not, because I fall into the same category now, I'm a part of a grouping. The difference is my loyalty may be to the party politically in terms of how we're getting to the same end goal, but my fundamental loyalty is to the people. So irrespective if my party chooses to go in a different direction than I do, they will hear my voice and they will hear my opinion and my stance on this, right? This is what I think is one of the more beautiful things, too, that I learned in the more recent years, the difference between a parliamentary secretary and a minister. They have collective responsibility on the ministerial level. But as a parliamentary secretary, I can beat my gums as much as I want, and I plan on doing that because I am probably the closest thing to the rawest form of a direct representative of the people without having all that extra bureaucracy, which is, funny enough, a big part as to why when I speak with people, why I told them, I said, listen, it's not that I'm not capable of being a minister, but the biggest thing that you see happen is a lot of times, especially with the younger ones, when they get in there for the first time and they become a minister, they start focusing on the big global things that are in Cayman, and they forget how they actually got to office in the first place, and that was the person on the ground. You can see how that God complex can be built sometimes off of that, right?
Very easily.
But I told them, and I tell everyone this openly, it's not that I'm not capable, but I know where my focus needs to be. West Bay North in particular, has lacked representation for the past 8 years. And we have had not, and whether they were in there before or not, I have not seen or heard a single thing from any other person running up until 6 months before election. I'm the only person that has actually been in the community, been in the district, actually pushing. And that is an indisputable fact. So if they want to challenge me on that, feel free. But I know where I stand in my district because I've always been there. So if we're going to continue to play this game of politics where it's like, oh, well, I didn't get in this time, I didn't get in this time again, and every 6 months, like clockwork, a ham, a turkey, $100 bill, a new fridge, a new fence. If we keep on playing this game and expecting that we are going to get further ahead in this country, I'm sorry that you are playing right into their hands. It's because they've starved you enough to where they feel comfortable enough saying, you need this, don't you? You can see that just their actions show you that they don't care about you. And that's what I think people need to start paying attention to, is that life is never promised to be easy. These persons are giving you the illusion that life can be easy if you trust them. But every time you've trusted them, all they've done is sell you up the river for their own pockets. It's about time now in 2025, we're in a year of change, where if we want to move in a different direction, the same old, reused, recycled politicians are not going to be the ones to get us there. It is time now for a new generation of leaders. That does not necessarily mean exclusively someone that's young like myself, but that takes having the right group, a group like the Cayman Islands National Party, where we have no persons that are muddied by all of the political saboteur, all of the political chaos that takes place in this country. They are successful in their own right first. Not the only time that they actually got success in life was being in politics, and that's a drastic difference. It's like me understanding the evaluations of money. If I was poor my entire life and someone gave me $1 million, I wouldn't know how to balance it. It's very rare. But if I had experience with it over time, you can't put any number of money in my face that I wouldn't understand exactly how to do with that. It's grooming, it's control in that capacity. And I think that's what the country needs now. It's not about this, I'm going to call it exactly for what it is, rhetoric, where it is proven, stable leadership. I can tell you what's proven about that, the fact that over 25 years this country has been on a downcline. You can try and pull out of your crevices as much information you want about having a surplus. I can tell you, and I'm fine speaking on air, I can tell you who we can dedicate that to, and that is Mr. Marco Archer himself. So let's not play games about we had this and we had that. No, because one man had the backbone and the cojones, as Woody DaCosta would say, to tell you no. So you can back
fortitude.
Testicular fortitude. So let's give credit where credit's due. If it was left to you all, only God knows where it would have been, because around the same time, if I'm not mistaken, this is when the framework for fiscal responsibility popped up, right? Same administration. So that's what's proven about that. There's nothing stable about them. When it comes to leadership, I can tell you who they're answering to, and it ain't me and you, Austin. It's Mr. Money Man. So if everyone's got any question today who I got shots for, I got them for everyone. We're in the last stretch of this race here now.
Well, I'm torn between, should I say something? No, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let you burn like a rocket ship, baby, because you're going straight to the moon. Though I will I'm thrilled that you're looking to the future and you're, thinking of things like roles like parliamentary secretary, which is a very noble and honorable role. I hope you have enjoyed all the sleep you're going to need for the last 4 years, because if you get elected, that's one of the few things, one of the few luxuries you're going to, miss the most. But yeah, you're right. You don't have the power of a minister, but as parliamentary secretary, you do have the responsibility of pushing the agenda of whatever your minister that you're attached to will be. So your role will be to defend his or her policies, to promote his or her policies, which we assume will be your policies because they get decided in caucus first before they go to cabinet, and then they become policy. But yes, you're also correct. The parliamentary secretary role is similar to the backbencher role, where you do get to fight. You are expected to fight, defend the positions of your minister, and at the same time, you have a lot more freedom to meet the people on the ground who put you there. So, I'm glad to see that's where you're thinking. It is 28 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. We have to pause, take a short commercial break, but there's more Jordan Rivers still to come right here on Bobo 103.1 FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
A cruise pair would require dredging large areas of seabed, placing our marine life, coral reefs, and water quality at risk. While Cayman would carry the environmental and economic burden, the cruise lines stand to benefit the most. They already take up to 70% of cruise passenger spending through onboard shops and exclusive partnerships. Is it worth risking what makes Cayman special so that cruise corporations can earn even more? Vote no on April 30th.
Let's protect what makes Cayman unique. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
Buy and sell almost anything. Shop and buy new and gently pre-owned items. Declutter your home and earn some extra cash by selling unwanted items. ektrade.com, where Cayman goes online to buy and sell.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay.
No one can stop me when I taste the feel.
Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
The Association for Cruise Tourism invites you to our final town hall with Alexander Gumbs, CEO of Port St. Martin, on Friday, April 25th at 6 p.m. at the Marriott Grand Cayman. Discover how cruise pairs drive economic growth and protect our marine environment from destructive anchoring. Refreshments will be served. All hands on deck. Don't miss it. Your vote, your future, your Cayman.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at CaymanWater.com.
We all work hard to one day buy the house of our dreams. Why wouldn't you protect it? With Saxon, you now have the option to get a home insurance quote online. Avoid the waiting in lines and the traffic. Simply log on to saxon.ky and click to get a quote to get started. At Saxon, we pride ourselves on providing our customers with excellent customer service and convenience. So what are you waiting for? Visit saxon.ky today from the comfort of your home or office to get your quote and protect the things you love. Saxon. Smart Insurance.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We are in our Super Tuesday mode, and with us in studios once again, becoming a regular Tuesday appearance, West Bay North candidate for the Cayman Islands National Party, Mr. Jordan Rivers. Prior to the break, Jordan, we were talking about a wide variety of things, but one of the things had to do with something that's near and dear to your heart. Obviously, Barker's Beach is what we're referring to, Barker's Preserve, or what it will be if you are elected. You want to turn it into a national park. But I was asking more about the conflicts that may exist between property owners who also are drawing up plans to, let's call it, put down a parking lot somewhere on Barker's.
And I think it's important to understand that we have to draw the line in the sand somewhere, and actually it's going to be in the dirt at this point in time because it's not going to go away so easily. We have yet, firstly, as I've been beating this horse constantly, we need to have a national development plan. We need to understand and identify what zonings we're going to be dealing with so we can actually have a true, stable, and balanced development of this country. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily matter if you own land in a particular area or not. Once it's been zoned as either commercially sensitive, environmentally sensitive, does not matter. Those owners are going to have to understand that. It is, in a very interesting way, at the benevolence of the government if they choose to give them some sort of credit or score towards it. And I'm not opposed to that, honestly. Like, if I understand people choosing to get land in certain locations, whether it's strategic or they want to be far away or not, I completely get that. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be some sort of tyrant. I just know that irrespective of your own personal desires, this is much more important to the country on a whole than the desires of one individual. So you may own it, you can still have stake in it, but the entire area is going to be a national park, starting from those two light poles going all the way up to the top.
Okay.
We got to figure out about the one development that's in there now, whatever that may become.
Right.
Right. And I think it should be ground zero for a multifaceted approach when it comes to what I would assume is the correct use of a public-private partnership, where we can actually take kids out there during the summers, because we were just talking about crime prevention and criminality and whatever not. And we can show them this is what marine biology looks like. This is what marine sciences are. We can work hand in glove with the National Trust and other entities that are interested in actually educating our children on the environment that we live in, because I don't think we do enough with the social sciences in this country. And this is a person that is, as of recently, graduated school from 10 years ago. Even in that capacity, we may be taught the fundamentals of how it works globally, but we have never climatized it or localized it to showing the kids that grow up here how truly environmentally sensitive countries like Cayman is. So I think a national park is the only way to go. I've been hearing all sorts of stuff about, well, we're going to use the Environmental Protection Fund to buy it back. From who? Who's selling it? What land's available? Right? Because if you go and say that you're going to take a fund to go and forcibly purchase land, that's compulsory purchase right now. And last time I checked, people are having complaints against compulsory acquisition. So I'm not quite seeing what the difference is here. We have to regulate this across the board for everyone. But before we continue, I'm just going to remind your listening audience, because I know that people come and go, of my meetings that are coming up. So tonight I have one on Premier Drive, right off Powery Road, starting at 7 o'clock. Once you hit Premier Drive, you just drive all the way down. It's the piece of land next to the last house on the right. Tomorrow evening, I'll be in West Bay Gardens at 77 Windstar Drive. That is, look for the purple house. You can't miss it once you're on Windstar. On Thursday now, I'll be at 239 Captain Reginald Parsons Drive. And on Friday, I will be at Topsail Street near Cobalt Coast. You can't miss that one either. It's a straight shot to it. I'll repeat those again. Tonight, I'll be there on Premier Drive, right off of Power Road, all the way to the back, last house on the right. Tomorrow, 77 Windstar Drive, West Bay Gardens. Look for the Purple House. 239 Captain Reginald Parsons Drive. That'll be on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'll be at Topsail Street near Cobalt Coast. Can't miss it as well. And those are going to be my meetings for the remainder of the week. Because come next week, we have got the Cayman Islands National Party finale. And then I'll have my personal grand finale on the 29th of April on Andresen Road. That's going to be near Cobalt Coast. So that's where I had it the other day.
All right.
So.
All right. Sounds good. And again, on behalf of your constituents in West Bay North, we certainly appreciate you reminding them where you will be this week. And hopefully, if you missed it that second time, we'll give them at least one more opportunity.
At least one more.
A bit later on in our discussion. Now, when we were obviously chatting earlier, preparing for your visit today, one of the things top on your agenda that I was glad to hear about is you want to discuss the responsibility that voters have, their participation in the voting process. How important is that to you? How important is that message specifically to your constituents in West Bay North?
This, honestly, it's paramount to any election. This is democracy at its truest form, is participation. Now, to an extent, one could argue that a lack of participation is an actual statement of itself. And I can tell you from personal experience during this cycle, there will be a couple people I know for a fact that will not be leaving their houses to go vote on election day. And I get it. They don't like the choices, and this is what it is. Fair enough. But I think it is, whether you vote or not, it is your responsibility as not only a voter or a citizen of this country, but as a Caymanian, to participate at all times. Get yourself registered to vote. It's one of those things where you should be happy to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Because every time, we know, as politicians love to do, if you can't vote, I can't waste my time with you. And that's it's unfortunate, but it is the name of the game. So if you want to be a part of that body that holds them accountable,
yes,
this is how you truly hold them accountable. And I want to more so specifically push that towards the younger persons, because there is a few olders that are not registered still, but the numbers really are lying with the young persons. If you guys are tired, I mean truly tired of the kind of representation you have not been receiving, the easiest way to get control of that is to get yourself registered as a voter, because now you can truly hold any person that is elected accountable. You have a stake in this game. You have skin in this game that they cannot take away. Remember now, there is no end date on your voter's ID. That is from the time you're born, from the time you're 18 until the time of your death. And that is the kind of true ownership that you have in any democratic society. So if you are tired of having to go out here and fight or feel that it's hopeless, this is how you start to get that get back. You get yourself registered to vote, so no matter what comes up, you can actually expel your participatory democracy truly.
Indeed. Two things come to mind just hearing you say that. Taking, I think, the first priority. Obviously, you encourage more young people once they become of legal age to get registered to vote, and I think that's great advice. Obviously, a bit too late now, obviously. But for those persons in your constituency, we've heard of, candidates in the past, creating opportunities for those persons to get to the polling stations. Some of your constituents might not have a car and they may need some assistance. What are you and your colleagues doing, or what services will you be providing, if any, to your constituents in helping them, encouraging them to get to the polls? You can't tell them who to vote for, but you sure can drive them.
And give you a ride.
Yeah.
Give you a ride. And that's about as neutral as we're going to keep it, Yes. So they can reach out to myself at 938-8668 via call or WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp would be a lot more manageable for that kind of task. But yeah, we are providing shuttle service on the day of election for those that are in need of it, because there is a few elderly persons that are going to need that kind of transport. So I'll give you my number again, 938-8668. Feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get you guys put on a list of persons that need to be brought to the voting stations on election day.
Indeed. All right. But again, I think it's fantastic advice, encouraging those persons who have the privilege to be on the existing registered list of electors to take advantage of that opportunity. You've got the day off anyway. It's not going to take you an hour, not even that, even with a line.
No, not even.
To vote for Jordan Rivers
Appreciate
in
the
West
plug.
Bay North. And then when you're done that, which shouldn't take long at all, remember Jordan Rivers, only name you need to know.
Number 4.
And then walk over to the next question booth for the referendum questions and slap your yes, yes, yes. And, well, not telling you what to do, but yes, 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 just a suggestion. And then you're done. You have the whole day to do whatever you'd like to do. Highly recommend it. And again, if you can't get to the polls, well, if you live in West Bay North, you can just simply reach out to your candidate, Jordan Rivers, and he will make arrangements, whether he has to pick you up himself or his fantastic support crew.
Yep, I'm there to
consists
serve.
of his amazing mother and everyone else certainly will be there to help you. I just want to send a shout out to your mom because I know she's been your backbone. I know she's been your number one supporter. I'm told that her purses are increasing in number, just going to show for the number of things she has to carry around. So I'm waiting for that rock style backpack, one like the Delta Force use.
The Mountaineer style.
That one. Yeah. What's in there?
Wait till I get in.
You might need. Okay. Mom is here with us in studios. You can't see her, but she's here in support of her boy, which as she should be. Now, we talk about forward-looking, and let me just see here. Oh, sorry, that was a different question. We talk about forward-looking. Obviously, you got your sights set on parliamentary secretary, but first you got to get elected to be an MP. But if elected and when elected, you speak strongly about being a representative that represents the interests of the people, not talking to them, but talking with them. After you're elected, on whatever decisions that will be made specifically at the local level, the constituency level, can voters, constituents expect to hear more from you? And if so, how are they going to hear from you after elected?
So for sure, they'll be hearing a lot more from me, whether I'm in office or not. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
This is not a 6 months before the next election kind of character you're dealing with. I've, like I said earlier, been here. So I'm planning on having mandatory quarterly meetings to begin with, so the constituents can always be up to date and informed. But when it comes to more direct issues that I'm telling you, something that might be coming down 3 weeks in the pipeline, I plan on having special kinds of meetings to discuss those and saying, hey, this is the direction the government wants to move in. Before I make my decision on this, let me hear what everyone has to say, because at the end of the day, I'm just a vessel of representation. I'm the funnel that matriculates the decisions and will of the people to the House of Parliament. So whether I am successful or not in my endeavor, the final say has to come from the people. And hey, I'm not opposed to having one of those little kind of blind voting ballots where you say yes, no for this, and whatever the democracy is of that time, of those that have attended, there's the answer that we have to go with as the district. This is representation.
Right.
I'm not representing myself. I'm representing 1,427 people currently.
That's a significant number by anybody, imagination. You also are a strong supporter of doing something more than just lip service as it relates to the district councils, aren't you?
Yeah, no, trust me. I think that's an absolute must when it comes to this. And now I don't know if I've said this on air, but I'm just going to say what my thoughts are on it, because I'm not reading from a script or a paper. I do actually think for myself.
Yes, I can attest to that. There's no paperwork over there, even though you were reminded of paperwork, which you said, but I got it, but it's in the car, and the rest is up here. I did my homework.
So when it comes to district councils, we have the framework for it, right?
Yeah.
We just haven't had any kind of implementation of it. And I've heard politicians in the past say, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're working on a few things first that are in the same vein of it, I would assume, as if I remember correctly. But the more I thought about it, and I said to myself, what if the fact as to why they're stalling this is because they're concerned about losing their political power? And I get that. Like, I can understand that. You've worked hard. I'm currently on the campaign trail. So I get feeling the need to want to put your stamp or your mark on things when you actually get there. But you forget the important fact. You may have fought for this, but you're fighting to represent people, not represent yourself. So if you're worried about people having the ability to elect individuals for 2 years or 4 years onto a district council, if you're worried about them using that as the launch pad for their political career, I don't see why you can't put a facet in place that bars them from running for office for 1 or 2 terms. That allows them that once they demit office to be working on the ground on square one for themselves. Because at some point in time, if you're having any kind of interest in running for office, you're going to sit and talk with people anyway. They're going to have to do this in any kind of seat that they hold. So it doesn't change the fact that the legwork is still needed. What it does is it puts a nice, good buffer between you and them. So if persons are really, and this is where I would recommend persons from the time of 18 to get involved in district council, because you're going to realize very quickly that you are comfortable at this, but you're not necessarily ready to serve on a national level.
Right.
But this gives you the groundwork. This is the forward thinking, the creating of the next generation of leaders. As long as we can keep this process as uncorrupted as possible, this is how you create more leaders at a faster track. We haven't had persons think of this or try and operate in this capacity because the politicians we've gotten, for the most part, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, are selfish.
Yeah.
They're greedy and they're for power. If we want to change that mindset, firstly, it starts by not re-electing has-beens. It's as simple as that. Secondly, it's about taking young, bright starts. I love you. Taking young,
Not
bright...
to put too fine a point on it, but yes. Tell me what you think, Jordan. Everybody wants to hear it. Believe you me, don't hold back now.
Oh goodness, I know. I
Leave
can't.
it all on the field, brother.
I can't afford to, guys. I really
all
can't.
on the field.
I'm here to lay it out as it is, real and raw.
Yeah.
The taking nice young upstarts that have a desire, because not everyone has a desire for public office, but it's taking those ones that work inside of youth parliament, for instance, that showed that interest, putting them on these district councils where they can actually move throughout their district as a young representative, because they have a voice as well too. They're representing the next generation, and by the time they hit 28, 32, somewhere around there, they'll be leagues above me. They'll be leagues ahead of me. And that's the kind of thing you want, is constant progression. Because at the end of the day, the voters are going to be the ones that are deciding, even if they've spent 8 to 10 years on a district council, the voters are going to be deciding, are you ready or are you not? And that is democracy in its finest form.
Yeah.
So I think there's multiple ways of how we need to advance our political system. We need to start by putting civics back in school, man. Like, people need to know the kind of power that they hold as a citizen of this country, and the difference between being a citizen that can't vote and a citizen that can vote, and the kind of powers that gives you. Knowledge is power, and we can no longer, as a country and as a people, afford to be blinded, to be ignorant to it. You know, the ignorance is bliss, but not in times when everyone's suffering.
Yes, indeed. Now, going back to your discussions about young people, and I said I did have 2 points of view on the whole issue of young people getting registered, and of course, encouraging young people to get registered and to participate. Now, your party hosted a get-together where you were targeting specifically young person to come out and not only get to know the National Party, but get to know some of the candidates, including yourself, and above all, share their concerns, their viewpoints for how they see things. How was the turnout, and what was some of the feedback you got?
So firstly, which I was very happy, but I was so happy by the turnout. It took a little bit, as things usually do in Cayman, but when it was at its peak, we had just about every single chair filled in that venue.
That's good.
And what I liked, they even brought their friends that can't even participate in our society, which I said, wow, they're giving them a good cultural experience. So it was a really good event. We had a lot of questions asked, a lot of concerns were delivered, and the biggest concern for a lot of young persons is that job security, that opportunity, is knowing that they went away to come back to a country that is not even in the mindset of rewarding them for the hard work that they did. Because we talk about this too. We can get as much education as we want, but if the opportunity is not there, it's all for naught. If you're lucky, you'll be going and bagging groceries at Foster's or any of the other supermarkets. But that's not what you spent 4 years of your life for. That's not what you gave your time for, your energy, your mental sanity sometimes.
Yes.
So I think it's about ensuring that we have a system in place that takes our persons that have gone away either for further education or have gone through what we are hoping to put in, I should say this correctly, what we know we're going to put in, which is that TVET program, and actually rewarding them for making that effort, for putting that hard work in and saying, there is a place for you in your own country. You don't have to go all the way halfway across the world to look for an opportunity. We're taking care of our people first, and the rest shall be supplementary, because if we cannot take care of Caymanians, how do we expect to take care of anybody else?
Indeed. Well, I encourage you, and I certainly am applauding you for obviously focusing on the TVET, technical and vocational training, giving a young Caymanian a skill, a teachable skill that they can go on and use and monetize to make a living off of it. And we talked about, posts like plumbers and mechanics and, a variety of fields which do far better salary-wise than, an entry-level bank teller, albeit you're working inside versus outside. But if
how much you want to sweat for that cash?
Exactly. If you, a little sweat for, a good dividend return, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But let's also talk about those Caymanians who are going off to school, those who are looking at job security. They are, probably in the white-collar realm. What kind of assurances, or more importantly, what are some of your plans to ensure that when those Caymanians return with higher education, that they get a foot in the door? They may not be the CEO on their first, day in the workforce.
Yeah.
But, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And a lot of Caymanians are being deprived even that first step. So how are you going to fix that?
So I think it starts with changing the mindset of how the workforce operates. We can talk as much as we want about government involvement or lack of government involvement, but depending on the kind of individuals that you elect and how they operate in their space, the private sector tends to follow suit. So we need to balance how government treats individuals when it comes to the same hiring practices as the private sector. So we have to remove that loophole of persons that are employed through the civil service that are expatriates, where they get a free pass just about. They're not held to the rollover policy. We need to remove that. That has to go. We appreciate your services. We appreciate your expertise. But in the time that you're here for the 5 to 7 years or whatever it may be, you're going to be training this person to take over what you do and whatever kind of insight. And I think once people understand that there is no furthering of themselves in this role, they're going to do their job to the fullest before they depart, because they have understood that you're being hired to take on this task. So that's where I believe we start. And we can take labor, we can take immigration, we can take education. We got to remove these silos. We have to have all government agencies and departments that have a lot of natural synergy start communicating with each other. We have to have overall government communication, but especially those departments that work very well together. So we can start identifying, saying, hey, we've got 200 kids that have gone off on a 4-year degree. They'll be coming back at this cycle and this cycle and this cycle. We want you to bring them on during the summers or whenever it is and start giving them some in-person experience. So by the time they graduate for the job that we're securing for them, right, they can seamlessly transition into your workplace without you having to go through, for the most part, that 6-month process of teaching them, because they've come and they've learned. And once we start doing that, you can see that the private sector will start to bend around that. They'll be like, all right, I have this person for 4 years, and then this Caymanian is coming to fill the role. So they're taking out a 4-year work permit. But in that time, that one expat can be dedicated to training that Caymanian whenever they come. It's only going to be 2 months out of your year for the most part, unless we keep them on a constant returning or revolving door for that. But there's many innovative ways. We have to get to the point, and I'm fully cognizant that we'll never be able to employ every single Caymanian in every single role. Sorry, I should put it this way. We cannot have Caymanians fill every single role in this country because there's just not enough of us. What we can do is the ones, and when you're creating that curriculum of these are the jobs that Cayman prioritizes and focuses on and excels at, this is what we're looking for. So when you come and you get these government scholarships or you get these private scholarships and we send you off to get our return on investment, you know that there's a guarantee. If we know that we prioritize or we excel in financial services and tourism and in a myriad of TVET programs, and we're sending kids off, why are we wasting the money for brownie points with the government so we can get a tax break or a credit break to bring on 5 other expats? That's so counterproductive to me. What we need to do is saying, we've spent $130,000. How about we bring that Caymanian back so I, as a company, don't have to lose more work permit fees to the government. And the government gets a great asset because they have a consistent contributor to the country. That person's not going somewhere else. We don't have that brain drain. And this is how we start to progress our society. people can talk about all the beautiful plans that they have for this country. Guess what? You have had 10, 12, 20 years to do it. So when you were at the height of your power, why didn't you do it? Because you were too busy lining your own pockets. And that's why you didn't care about what was going on with a lot of them. So that's it. And it's a hard fact, but it's the fact, because I know the kind of fight I got all the way in West Bay North. And people need to understand the truth of the matter. A lot of these persons have had their chance and they squandered it. They were too busy prostrating themselves and subjugating themselves to higher powers than themselves, instead of actually having the backbone that is required to be an elected official and stand up for the rights of the people and defend the rights of the people. This is what we need. Our old guard is tired. Then they're finding that I'll take a bribe here or there. I'll let that little one slip in. I'll let this one get that. And every single time when the looting and the plundering starts, because it's been happening, we're paying the cost. And our old guard is sitting there laughing at the gate saying, well, got away with it.
Strong words there from your candidate from West Bay North, calling out. Oh, there it is. I wondered how long it would take before you played that. Calling out, I suspect, his challengers and perhaps even further afield. 745-2626 is the number. If you've got a question, a comment, or you just want to big up number 4 in West Bay North, now's your opportunity. But we're going to pause, take a short commercial break, but keep it locked. There'll be more Jordan Rivers next on Bobo FM.
Bobo.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here.
More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world. Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to top shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority. At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands. Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. US stocks have recovered some of their recent losses following White House assertions that it's making good progress on reaching a trade deal with China. All 3 main indices jumped more than 2%. The US Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is reported to have predicted a de-escalation in the trade war, describing the current situation as unsustainable. Speaking after the markets closed, President Trump said he would be very nice in negotiations with Beijing.
I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. So we want them involved, but they have to, and other countries have to make a deal.
Mr. Trump added that tariffs would fall if there was a deal, but not to zero. The International Monetary Fund has cut its global economic growth projections, warning that US tariffs are causing market uncertainty and slowdown. The outlook for nearly all countries has been downgraded. Darshini David reports.
The sweeping tariff policy unveiled by President Trump at the start of the month prompted the IMF to declare that we are entering a new era in which the worldwide economy would be severely tested. It now predicts global growth of 2.8% this year, down from its previous forecast of 3.3%, with the US suffering the biggest downgrade to its outlook, with expected growth of 1.8%. The IMF does not expect a recession in either case.
The world's richest man, Elon Musk, says he's likely to scale back his work for the Trump administration next month to concentrate on his electric car company, Tesla. Analysts have warned of brand damage due to Mr. Musk's role at the Department of Government Efficiency, where the tech billionaire has overseen large, often controversial cuts to federal programs. Tesla has reported a 71% drop in quarterly profits. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condemned the killing of domestic tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir. Gunmen attacked tourists near the resort town of Pahalgam. Media reports suggest at least 27 people were killed. A little-known Islamist separatist group says it was responsible. Here's Yogita Lamaya.
Details are still emerging of what exactly happened, how many gunmen were there, how many people have been killed and injured. Locals say that there are many people who've been rushed to nearby hospitals with gunshot wounds. The area has been cordoned off and a search is currently being carried out for the perpetrators of the attack. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has responded, calling it a heinous attack and saying that those who've carried it out will be brought to justice.
BBC News. President Zelensky has said Ukraine will not formally recognise Russia's annexation of Crimea as part of any deal to end the war. He said ceding the peninsula seized by Russia in 2014 would violate Ukraine's constitution. Mr. Zelensky's comments follow reports Washington could recognise Crimea as Russian to secure a ceasefire. There's been a large explosion at a military base in the Vladimir region, northeast of Moscow. The Russian Defense Ministry said a fire had detonated ammunition at a warehouse. Danny Eberhard reports.
Video footage of the incident shows a vast fireball and billowing plumes of smoke. Its force clearly impressed one witness, despite being filmed from several kilometres away. Russia's Ministry of Defence put the blasts down to what it called a violation of safety requirements when working with explosive materials. Such incidents do happen in Russia, but Ukraine also attacks Russian arms depots. Ukrainian reports indicate the site houses an arsenal of the main missile directorate.
The US health authorities say the use of synthetic dyes in food products will be banned from the end of next year. The Food and Drug Administration said that for the last 50 years, American children have increasingly been living in a toxic soup of synthetic chemicals. It cited studies linking petroleum-based dyes to conditions including attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, though food companies dispute this. Official Israeli messages of condolence for the Pope were just deleted shortly after being posted online. They featured a picture of Francis praying in Jerusalem with the caption, "May his memory be a blessing," but it was swiftly removed. A BBC correspondent says this appears to show the Israeli government's displeasure at the Pope's decision to speak about Gaza. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Super Tuesday here on Bobo 103.1 and your favorite Straight Talk. As my colleague always likes to say, we miss him today, but Ellio can't be with us today because he's in Cayman Brac, but I believe he's with us in spirit as we continue our fantastic conversation with Jordan Rivers, candidate for the constituency of West Bay North with the Cayman Islands National Party, learning a little bit more about this young man's character, learning a little bit more about this young man's beliefs and or his intentions when you elect him as your representative in West Bay North. Now, prior to the break, we were talking about certainly something. Well, first of all, we were talking about that which echoed most in your engagement with young people at an event you hosted a week or so ago. I think it was at the Hive. And I was asking specifically, what was the feedback? What sort of issues were being raised to the surface by these young persons? And you said, of course, employment, job security, certainly topped the list in their priorities.
Yeah.
You obviously spoke, I think, honestly and candidly about what changes you would make within the government employment structure. And again, as an MP, education for you may or may not know, you don't get involved in the hiring and firing, but you can by all means make recommendations. And what I know of the Honorable Deputy Governor, he's receptive to that sort of feedback, and he certainly is
Big up yourself, Franz.
an ultimate civil servant in seeking to support whatever government comes in. You know, there are no favoritisms within the civil service, and one of the things I respect about them, they have a tough job.
Yeah.
But certainly they do the job to the best of
Got
their
to manage
ability.
a lot of egos.
Oh, let's not even go there. But yeah, for sure. But no, so you made recommendations about this, you know, no more automatic passes when you work for government. No more you got a job for life in government if you aren't from here. There will be a rollover policy, or there should be a rollover policy applied to foreign nationals working in government. And I'm impressed because a lot of people talk about, succession planning. They talk a lot about it, but they do very little about it. And you can't have a job forever and have succession planning on the same token. It's an exercise in futility because no one's going to train their replacement if they don't have to.
Exactly.
But if you make it a prerequisite, and certainly if you get the blessing and agreement from the civil service to do so, then I don't see why it can't be done. But we also talk about things like, well, we can't have government be the employer for everyone. It's simply not. It's a large employer. It's one of the largest employers. It is probably one of the better employers with Caymanian to foreigner ratios, but it's not the full picture. Do you have thoughts in terms of improving not even the upward mobility, as we like to say, breaking through that glass ceiling, but in many cases, just breaking through to get their foot in the door for Caymanians into a career, particularly from the young person's standpoint, whether they're returning from home with a degree after 4 or 6 years in university, or they're coming fresh out of high school. You know, they got some skills, but maybe not enough. You're going to introduce TVET to give them more skills, but they're still going to need, after all of that skills development, they're going to still need an opportunity, a foot in the door. And if it's not with government, it's going to be in the private sector. What are your thoughts in addressing what a lot of people say is the unnerving rate in which work permit numbers continues to grow year after year? Is there a recommendation to improve that circumstance?
Yes. Before I answer that, only because of your choice of words triggered a memory for me in East End.
Okay.
So they took a West Bay and took them all the way to East End for some action. So my statement on that stage when I was talking with the younger persons was talking about opening doors.
Yeah.
Right. And granted, I am the one that's vying to open the door to Parliament for the next generation. But my statement, I think, was very fitting compared to what you just said, was that whether I kick those doors down or blow them open with dynamite, we're going to have those doors open. So I'm going to take that same statement I made in East End for the next generation and apply that to workforce opportunities. Now, I'm a strong believer that, especially if we're talking about what we would classify as unskilled labor, we have now, thanks to the decisions of a handful of persons, a country that services 8 billion people, whether we want to or not. We've seemed to have put it in a position where this small little island can service 8 billion people. Don't know how that works, but here we are. When it comes to, in particular, the unskilled labor, I don't see why we need to be able to, or why we should even be bringing persons back to the country once they've served their tenure. It's just that you get to know the person, you get to work with them, you get comfortable with them. And if we've seen anything about getting too comfortable with people, they tend to stay in positions a little bit longer than they should.
Yeah.
And that's a good political reference right there.
You talk about persons on work permit who may be at the bottom or middle level that don't have any specific exclusive skills, but they are filling gaps where there are no Caymanians at present.
Exactly, because we talk now. Keep in mind, right? Just so we can bring clarity to the listening audience and eventually the viewing audience as well. We are talking the same issue and argument that we have about importing poverty. This is kind of where it starts. Whether we like them as individuals or not is not the point. When you're safeguarding something, sometimes you gotta be the perceived bad guy. It's just the way of life. It is better to be skeptical of individuals than to be welcoming more often, because the greatest empires to fall always fell from the inside, never from the outside. So if we need to go back to where we have tough guards, where we have people that protect the country, protect our borders, and that starts with legislating certain things that ensure those parameters. We can talk about keeping skilled labor in this country longer or allowing a bit more opportunity, but that's because they themselves have something to offer. But when it comes to the person that will either go in service to trash or mow your lawn or any number of things, I hate to put it this way, but it is what it is. Those are a dime a dozen. Those are unskilled laborers, right? If they were talking about 8 billion of them, I'm pretty sure for Cayman in Perpetuum, we'll be able to pull from those, from anywhere, because anybody's going to want a job that brings them to a place like Cayman, because Cayman's doing more for them. So I think we really need to take a hard look at putting a certain facet in place that it, at least starting there with our immigration policy, saying that if you fall into these categories and below, you get a one-time work permit, whether that is 8 to 9 years, 10 years, whatever. We can figure that out as we go along, but that's it.
Okay.
There's nothing more. And I think that will start to open space up for Caymanians to get in at those entry-level locations so they can have those summer jobs. They can have the freedoms to know that it doesn't matter where they're working, they have the opportunity.
And I'm just curious, I mean, because obviously you're one candidate running in West Bay North and you have your own viewpoint, your own goals, but you are running as part of a larger grouping of persons with the Cayman Islands National Party. Do your colleagues share the same position that you do on the need for immigration reform and, let's call it what it is, protecting Caymanian interests?
Yes, I will, and I'll clarify this in particular. They share the same concerns and the same desires that I have when it comes to the balancing of the books to ensure that Caymanians are at the very least priority in this country, because the priority has to start with our own people. So we have that shared vision as to how we're going to get to that goal. That is up for discussion because we are still individual free thinkers. We have come under the collective that at the core of our values and our guiding light of where we're trying to go. Is this good for the Caymanian populace, for the Caymanian citizen? And if it's not, then we can hash it out and figure out a new alternative. But at the same point, we're just arbiters of people's will at the end of the day. We need to be neutral. We need to be open to working with persons and finding that happy medium. But we need to ensure that we are the name of the country, Caymanians, Cayman citizens. This is what we are. So if our own people are not protecting their own, who are they protecting? Who are they building all of this for? What are we doing all of this for? Because it can't be just greed. Right. It can't be just the dollar. There has to be some sort of continuity, some generational growth for that. What I will say is that this is why being an informed voter is so important, because all these wonderful things I'm talking about, I need a team to get those done. This is why I'm with a team yes. that is untainted, right? Mm-hmm. And this is why we're pushing so hard for this stuff, because we understand one thing. If our people are informed, if our people are educated on what's going on, they can make the best decision possible. For instance, I've been hearing committee members from other candidates that are running that are peer pressuring, this kind of garrison politics where they're pressing individuals about who you voting for. You better make sure that you go and vote for this person. We got to move away from that, man. Like we genuinely have to. At the end of the day, those people should not be peer pressured into voting out of fear. Mm-hmm. We can't fearmonger any longer. And for the voters, remember this, that in that booth, there is only two people present, right. You and God. And no one else is going to know where you're voting for. So do not be afraid. Do not feel like you've been pushed into a corner for things. You owe them nothing. you vote your conscience and you make the right choice for yourself, for your children, for your grandchildren, because we cannot continue on this path any longer.
All right. Well, you got a text message saying, that's right, Jordan. Caymanians, let me read it again. Caymanians are the product. And certainly your comments are resonating with members of our listening audience. 745-2626 is the number. If you want to, as we say in this part of the world, big up Jordan for what he's saying, and he's singing your tune, then by all means let him know, 745-2626. Or if perhaps you want further clarification or need clarification on some of his objectives, and more importantly, his and his team's plans to address some of these stubborn and troublesome issues, well, again, the phone lines are yours to use in the moments that we have remaining. And that looks like, just looking at the clock, we may have just over 5 minutes with our guest. But I was glad to hear you say and remind folks that these views that you have, whether it be on voter responsibility, whether it be on chatting with young voters, not to young voters, listening to their needs, whether it be addressing the elephant in the room, and that is the issue of work permits, both in the government and in the private sector, are shared by your team. But I see a caller on the line. Let's see if we can take that phone call right now. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good evening, Austin.
Good evening to you.
Here. How you doing?
Very well, sir, and yourself. Thank you for your call. Got a question or a comment for our guest?
Well, certainly not really any questions for him. Certainly just want to let him know he's doing a good job, and to go there and represent all those young people that are out there. I'm quite sure that are looking up to him in this stage now. Is a good thing. So hope he continues striving, and he's doing an excellent job putting himself out there like many other candidates. So, but yeah, I just definitely want to call because talking about all the training and stuff like that for Caymanians and all these great ideas that we have, coming on board, talking about building this and doing this. We are lacking that education element inside the whole formula. We just keep on producing enough opportunity, but of course we're not producing a lot of, educated people in order to fill those roles. And I definitely believe in a lot of stuff he was saying, especially regarding, a lot of these one-time permit policies that we should be implementing. And then, of course, as well, we need permits in a way. Obviously, there's needs, right? We just can't fill all the roles. But, this idea of making new Caymanians, I think, is really one of the biggest issues that we have. That is a part that really has to be nipped, because at the end of the day, we can always deal with the work permit issues, roll them out, roll them in. But if we're allowing people to just land here, apply for Caymanian, PR, whatever it is, and definitely take away the purchase of land for points and stuff like that, So a lot of great ideas. But like I said, I like a whole lot to talk. You've got a few minutes left. I want to leave opportunity for him and yourself as well. But just I want to call and give him encouragement, to him and all those others out there putting yourself forward. You need to hold your chin up high. You're a leader. You need to feel proud of yourself and do a good job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best, and like I say, I may not agree with every single thing you said, but I can tell you a lot of stuff you're saying that has been on my mind, been on the tip of my tongue. I've been voicing it as well over the years to many politicians, like you say, who have had the opportunity, and hopefully some of them that if they get the opportunity again to go back and they can turn around some of the stuff that I'm quite sure a lot of policies they put in place they didn't intend for them to turn out how they are. Our civil service plays a big role in that, Austin. I think you know a lot about that. You can cable as many bills, get as much support. But our civil servants need some straighten up going on that side to make sure things are working out on that end as well. But gentlemen, have a safe evening. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, all the best to you, Jordan, and in this election coming up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dominic. We do appreciate your comments as well. 21 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Really only enough time to encourage my guest again to share details on his week's plans. He's got a yard meeting tonight, which he's going to share details on. But he's got meetings, as he said, every night this week. You've also got the big party final meeting and then your own big final meeting with the time we have together. And, of course, I think we still have another opportunity to see you next week, if I'm not mistaken. Just look at it. Yes. You're back on the 29th, so we'll talk one more time.
Here I was getting all teared up that I was me the last time I'm going to see you.
Oh, I'll be teared up next week, but, like you said earlier on.
Tears of joy once I'm elected, buddy.
Tears of joy. Well, your spot is reserved because, Really, no one owns Super Tuesday, but you
might.
You might. But share
Historic.
with the listening audience, in particular your constituents in West Bay North, what your week's agenda will be and how they can find you.
All right. So tonight on Premier Drive, right off of Powery Road, starting at 7 p.m., this will be my meeting for tonight. Tomorrow, you can find me at 77 Windstar Drive. Just look for the Purple House. That's for West Bay Gardens. On the 24th will be Captain Reginald Parsons Drive, house number 239. On the 25th, you can find me at Topsail Street near Cobalt Coast. I will be in the BRAC this weekend for our BRAC finale. So I'll be back on Ireland on Sunday. Then on the 28th of April, from 7 p.m., we'll be at the A.L. Thompson's parking lot for the Cayman Islands National Party finale rally. And they can find me on the 29th on Andresen Road near Cobalt Coast. And that'll be my personal finale for West Bay North. I think I should run that one more time for him.
Yeah.
So tonight, Premier Drive, right off of Powery Road. Tomorrow, the 23rd, is 77 Windstar Drive, West Bay Gardens. On the 24th, you can find me at 239 Captain Reginald Parsons Drive. On the 25th, you can find me at Topsail Street near Cobalt Coast. And then on the 28th will be the finale rally for the party at A.L. Thompson's parking lot. So everyone definitely turn out to that one. We need to make that as big as possible. Let all the oppositions know that we are here to stay. And then you can find me from my personal finale on Andresen Road near Cobalt Coast. What I will like to plug for that one is now there's going to be a bombshell, almost near nuclear level of an expose that I'll be releasing there. So
really,
I want as many people to be there with their cameras recording because they're going to want to replay that in the morning.
Okay.
Let me tell you, you need to be on Andresen Road near Cobalt Coast on the 29th of April for my finale rally because the bombshell I'm about to drop, guys, yeah, you're going to wake up on April 30th in a whole different mindset after that.
Wow.
So be there for that. They can reach me at 938-8668. That number is 938-8668. You can find me on Instagram, which is Jordan Rivers .wbn. Facebook, Instagram again is Jordan Rivers .wbn. The Facebook is Jordan Rivers for West Bay North. It is Jordan Rivers for West Bay North. And then they can email me at jordan.rivers@nationalparty.ky. I'm going to repeat that one again. Yeah, jordan.rivers@nationalparty.ky. That's my email address. But you can find me on either WhatsApp or social media because we're in that kind of age here now. So the Instagram one more time is jordanrivers.wbn, and my phone number is 938-8668. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Reach out to me, guys. I've got 1,427 people to visit with 8 days left. And I want to hear from everyone. People have been reaching out, and I genuinely appreciate them for reaching out. But I want to hear what everyone has to say. I want you all to get familiar with me. I want you all to get comfortable with me. I want you to understand what I'm bringing to the table with myself and the National Party.
All right. Jordan Rivers there. Again, our guest on Super Tuesday, thanking him for his time. And you will have another opportunity here on Straight Talk on the 29th of April, the day before elections, to hear one final time from Jordan Rivers.
That'll be D-Day.
That will be D-Day indeed. D-Day. But the big day, the day you do not want to miss, the day you want to mark in your calendar, is his final hurrah in the district of West Bay, in the constituency of West Bay North, where, as he said, he's going to share a bombshell, and you have to be present to hear it. But once you hear it, you're going to want to repeat it. You're going to want to tell everybody. I can't imagine what this is going to be.
Trust me.
But if I was your opponent, I'd be slightly nervous right now. But you're going to have to turn up for that and see that then and hear it then. But, Jordan, thank you for being our guest in studios as always. Yeah, man, do it, man. Do it. Ellio would be very, very proud of you for playing those special effects. Thanks again for being our guest in studios. To the listening audience, obviously tomorrow, a little advance notice. We will be taking the conversation back to cruise tourism. I will have two guests keeping me company tomorrow. Mr. Tim Adam and Mr. David Miller will be my guest in studios. Two very fine gentlemen. Certainly two, how shall we say, not quite fresh, young off the tree, but more mature and certainly very knowledgeable on the wider tourism interest in the Cayman Islands. Obviously, they are in support of cruise berthing. We're going to hear why they are, in their own words, again, as part of our ongoing efforts to continue the public education on the referendum questions. And hopefully, I say hopefully, we arrive at the right decision. And again, you know, nobody is saying if you vote yes, there's going to be cruise berthing tomorrow, but we just can finally move forward with this issue. And if, when moving forward, we decide halfway through that initiative that we don't like it, well, we can stop it, which is what we've done for 20 plus years. But imagine, just imagine if we did something different, what that might gain us. But hey, I leave it to you to make that decision. But tomorrow here on Straight Talk, the discussion switches gears to cruise tourism. Go ahead.
Like voting for number 4, Jordan Rivers.
Yes.
That's doing something different that actually works.
Exactly the point I was trying to make. But that also applies itself to other things. Take a chance, you know, step out there into the future optimistically as to what we can create here in the Cayman Islands, not what we can stay the same. That is my wish. That is my goal. But certainly my bigger wish is that people participate in the process. And really, once you've done that, then I can't ask for anything more. Tomorrow, tune in for Tim Adam, David Miller as our guest in studios. We'll be tackling cruise berthing and why they think it's important. We hope you'll tune in for that. I'm your host, Austin Harris, thanking our guests, thanking our one caller, but our one or two other contributors for helping me out. See you tomorrow for more Straight Talk here on Bobo FM.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1. The following commercial messages are brought to you exclusively by Stingray Media.
The Association for Cruise Tourism invites you to our final town hall with Alexander Gumbs, CEO of Port St. Martin, on Friday, April 25th at 6 p.m. at the Marriott Grand Cayman. Discover how cruise pairs drive economic growth and protect our marine environment from destructive anchoring. Refreshments will be served. All hands on deck. Don't miss it. Your vote, your future, your Cayman.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
Building a cruise pier means years of construction, traffic congestion, business closures, and lost jobs. And for what? A project that mainly benefits the cruise lines? Local businesses, tour operators, and family-run shops will feel the impact long before any promised gains materialize. Why should Cayman take on the risk, while cruise companies take the reward? Vote no on April 30th.
Caymanians deserve better. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
For business, they say location, location, location. But really, there's no better location than right here, right now on your mobile phone or laptop. Buy and sell your pre-owned gear where the island is searching online. Buy and sell on ektrade.com. That's ektrade.com.
At Priced Right, spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
Hello, pet parents. We're Cayman Vets, Cayman's most advanced veterinary clinic providing quality care and services. We are committed to being your pet's advocate and friend, offering a lifetime of care. From vaccinations and wellness checks to more advanced surgical procedures, complicated medical concerns, and emergency care on demand. For more information about us or to get in touch,